I love Freddy Fazbear. And Fnaf 2, I guess. This series has been a part of my life since I was a wee lass in 2015, thinking the games were free roam, and also thinking it was the scariest game ever made. This extends to fan games as well. Stuff like Treasure Island, Candies, Wario's, Mactonite, Jolly, oh god, not that one.
Take that back, you pedo.
Suffice to say though, I haven't really been as into them as of late. I feel like there's a huge portion of fan games that don't prioritize innovation or fun gameplay, and end up feeling boring despite the impressive art. Nowhere is this more evident than with FNAF 1 remakes. Now, there could obviously be exceptions, but I feel as if a lot of games that try to take after FNAF 1 don't actually change anything meaningful except the art and atmosphere, which was already the best part of the fucking game. To me, the flaws with FNAF 1 are with its gameplay. I don't hold anything against the game, it was the first of its kind, but so many FNAF 1 remakes barely change anything meaningful about the gameplay, and it leads to a more or less samey, boring experience. If you couldn't already tell, that sure as hell isn't the case today.
Alright, Clancy, my man, you're up first.
This is probably a game you haven't heard of, which is honestly a shame. Nightshift at Clancy's came out only around 5 months ago, and got a DLC that added a ton of post-game content 4 months later. And I hate to say it, but even if Clancy's is very much its own thing, this game has a better understanding of how to remake FNAF 1 than 95% of FNAF 1 remakes out there. So how about we get into why? Nightshift at Clancy's is incredibly stylish, in the sense that it looks and feels satisfying. Juniper, the developer of this game, has a very distinct art style that I think really makes this game stand out. All the character designs are simple, but incredibly polished and easily recognizable, and the character designs being recognizable is incredibly important for a FNAF fan game. There is nothing worse than playing a fan game, being introduced to a mechanic, and being completely unable to figure out who it is they're talking about. It's happened to me plenty of times, and this game completely avoids that problem. I fucking love the character designs. Not only that, but just the general environment is cool. It's simple, pleasing to the eyes, and really polished with some great line art. Not much else to say, really. There is one more thing I want to mention with the style, but I'll save that for when we talk about overtime mode. For now, let's move on to... Obviously, the gameplay is what really matters above all else, and thankfully, I think Clancy's perfected the FNAF 1 style of gameplay. In my opinion, of course. I'm gonna go through night by night and talk about what works about the gameplay and how it advances and grows more complex as you progress through. Night 1 looks about as basic as Night 1 can get. You have 2 entrances, one vent to your left and one door to the right, both equipped with lights. Frankie, the orange one, goes to the right hall and acts very similarly to how Bonnie would in FNAF 1. The other character is Felix, the red one. He goes to your right side through the vents and must also be blocked off, just like Frankie. I mixed up my lefts and rights. Felix comes through the left. I'm 19 years old, by the way. One night in, and we already have our first fun little gameplay complication, though. You remember that blacked out kitchen camera in FNAF 1? Well, now that actually has a use, and it leads to your office, with Felix traversing through there. So, visiting this camera and listening out for both Felix's sounds and his vent crawling sounds as he makes his way to your office adds some spice to this mechanic. This is one of the many instances of the game giving you some freedom in how you strategize. You can listen out in the kitchen camera to know if Felix is there, or wait for the universal vent sound that plays when he's actively approaching your door, giving you less time to react. And in terms of Frankie, she inherits Bonnie's little teleportation mechanic. She moves normally throughout most of the building, but when she reaches either your hall closet, or hall corner, any one of those cameras can be Frankie's last stage before she reaches your door. This makes watching her on this night much more important than it would have been otherwise, as she can get to your doors faster than you might think. Night 2 is pretty much the same, but now we have a Foxy mechanic to worry about, in the form of Briar. Aside from her incredibly awesome design, Briar essentially works like Foxy, where watching her on the cam slows her down before she runs to your office and you have to react quickly. That's the mechanic. Slowing her down. Yeah, you can't actually prevent her from reaching your office like you could with Foxy. In addition, Briar can fully advance out of the cove and run to your office if you refuse to check her camera for a long time. This, again, is a really fun twist on the Foxy mechanic we all know at this point. It keeps you on your toes and always stresses you out by reducing how much time you can spend watching Frankie and Felix. Night 3 is where shit goes down. I don't know why that's a trend with every Fnaf fan game ever, it's just the way things go.
Gotta love home cooking.
This night introduces Clancy, who in my opinion is the perfect evolution of the Freddy mechanic from Fnaf 1. He wanders the building aimlessly playing his music box, and in this state, he's completely harmless. That is, until the music stops playing.
Clancy!
Only at that point does he become similar to Freddy, and you must stare at him for an extended period of time until the music starts up again. What I love about this mechanic is that it allows so much freedom with how you play. If Clancy is left unwatched, he doesn't immediately kill you, but rather will quickly show up in the vent, and you must shut it for an extended period of time. It's not an instant death. It opens up strategy possibilities if you want to completely forego repelling Clancy on the cameras. I fucking love this fat chud. His mechanic is so genius. Now these fuckers on the other hand.
You gotta be fucking kidding me.
In Night 3, you have to deal with Rex and Moxie. Now these guys are special. They're fucking ghosts. Rex shows up in the door lights at literally any time, and you have to keep it on him for around a second. And Moxie? Yeah, that. But only if you change cams. If you close the cameras with Moxie on screen, they'll jump scare you and take 10% of your power. Get jump scared 4 times and you're just straight up dead. And this applies to Rex too. Now look, these guys are a pain in the ass and they take so much time to get used to and play around. But I can't deny how genius of an addition they were. 2 words. Panic control. Rex makes a subtle audio cue when he appears, and because he can show up at literally any point, it can easily overwhelm you. Usually you want to shut the doors as fast as possible if someone is coming, but if Rex is there, you have to second guess yourself. Same deal with Moxie. You usually close the cameras to actually deal with something. So if you're too panicked and too focused on defending against one enemy, you're going to get punished for it. It really is a genius addition that adds such a cool, complex layer to typical FNAF 1 gameplay. Night 4 is definitely more difficult, but doesn't add any new layers to the gameplay. It's more or less a test of everything you've learned so far, which is definitely welcome. And then we get to Night 5. Guess what else Juniper kept from FNAF 1? Phone guy dying, no. Honestly, this is the only major lore point that we get from the first 5 nights, which is why I felt like bringing it up. I also bring it up because guess where the phone guy is now?
Enjoying this, you
So, the unnamed golden Clancy costume, aside from looking sick as hell, acts like a souped up version of both Felix and Frankie. It can go to either side and makes a sound cue when it reaches your door, but it is incredibly fast when attacking, which adds some much needed pressure for the final night of the game. Night 5 is fucking intense. You have to be wary of the hallucination duo, while also keeping Clancy and Briar in check, while also fending off Felix, Frankie, and Piss Clancy in between all of that. I really like how challenging this game gets, and it's infinitely more interesting and engaging than basically getting the full game experience at Night 3 like in FNAF 1. So, you beat the game, get your paycheck, declare you're never coming back, and get a star. Hey, wait a minute. So, you remember that update that came out 4 months after the game released? Yeah, would you believe me if the update effectively doubled the content of the entire fucking game? So, long story short, you play as Riley, who applied for the job at Clancy's originally but didn't get it, but now that Jessie left, they called her to fill in that spot, and she's apparently doing it for personal investigation purposes according to the extras menu. Got all that? Good. Night 6. It's basically like Night 2, but slightly harder. Okay, Night 7 is where the fun shit starts. This night introduces Betsy, a brand new character who's exclusive to the overtime mode. She has a completely unique mechanic, where she will progress closer to you the more times you flip up your monitor. When she's closest, the lights will flicker, and you have to find the Reset Betsy button, which can spawn randomly in any camera. The random camera bullshit might sound annoying, but it honestly isn't given how generous Betsy is with you. You get more time than you think to reset her, and you definitely have time to get rid of Rex, close any doors, or reset Clancy. She serves as another one of those panic tests where your brain has to handle who to deal with first, and it works decently well. Now on to Night 8. Oh god.
enjoying this, you
Okay, so this night reintroduces Clancy, and alongside him, one more new threat to deal with. Tucker. I fucking hate Tucker for 2 reasons. Number 1, I swear to God this guy fucks with you. How Tucker is meant to work is similar to Piss Clancy from Night 5. He can go to either door, but instead moves far slower and makes audible sounds every time he moves to a new room. This is because he is completely invisible to door lights. So, in order to stop him, you need to really keep track of him on the cameras to both know which door he's going to and when he'll arrive. Sounds like a solid mechanic, right? Well, I shit you not, this guy only works like half of the time. Shoot faster! There were multiple instances throughout my attempts of night 8 and 9 where I swear to you, this guy just vanishes off the face of the planet when he reaches your right door. And not vanish in the sense that he stops being a threat. No, he'll get your ass eventually, so you're just stuck keeping the right door shut on him if he chooses to camp it for 10 years before resetting. I've talked to the developer and she sees no issue, so it might be a me thing, but I swear to God, this little shit can just choose to never reset and it pisses me off. Okay, but my second reason isn't actually an issue and more so just something I would have done differently. Spoilers for later on, I guess, but Night 10 is a boss fight that involves the use of shutting the doors without turning on the light, or else you'll die. And I feel like Tucker had the opportunity to train the player on that before really testing it during the boss. I don't know, as cool as the boss is, the restriction on lights didn't feel like it was a part of the gameplay beforehand. So having Tucker revolve around it would have been welcome, but maybe it would have made it too hard, I don't know. Besides Tucker though, I kind of love everything else about the gameplay. Did I mention yet that characters leave the door faster depending on how fast you close the door on them, giving incentive to really tracking everyone on the cameras and preserving power? Juniper is a fucking genius, I swear to God. Night 9 is more of the same. Just one big final test before the wholly unique boss fight level. But now, in Night 10, we're introduced to Dark Figure.
Mike?
It calls us on the phone and basically just says how we don't know when to quit and how it finds us so interesting that it's giving us another chance. Aw, you sweetie pie, you shouldn't have.
Got something for you.
And thus commences the boss fight. A really, really good one, in fact. The first phase has you watching the dark figure until it picks a side to attack from, in which case you shut the correct door when it appears in the entrance. However, as I mentioned before, you cannot use the lights whatsoever when the figure is attacking this way. It gets you the first time due to sheer muscle memory and never again. It's a rather simple phase. But that's just the first phase. Dark Figure will progress to a new phase every 4 attacks, getting 1 new attack each time. This, combined with the much stricter power usage, is what gives the knight its challenge. Dark Figure is the only enemy tonight, but the huge emphasis on power management still makes it very stressful. Phase 2 introduces the Dinner Rush attack, where you must locate the figure on the camera after it laughs, which will trigger it to rush towards one of your doors. You'll hear which side it's coming from, and your ass has to act quick to block it off. Now when phase 3 comes around, the building power can sometimes go out, and you have to quickly go into the cameras and reboot in an exact feint to Betsy's mechanic. I've never died to this, it doesn't add very much. But starting this phase, the Dark Figure can also play fake audio cues, or not play any audio cues at all to fuck with you. This can be sort of threatening at times, but honestly, as long as you're paying attention, this won't get you either. Finally, we get to phase 4, which in my opinion is the most interesting. The Dark Figure can now go to your doors like normal, but won't appear in the doorway, and instead choose to laugh quietly. If you hear him do this, all you have to do is not close the door, turn on the light, and oh my god, what the fuck is that? I don't know what this is. I don't know why Juniper did this. This is just the way it is. And we as a society have to deal with it. Either way, yeah, just hold on the light until it leaves. And I think this is the final piece the boss fight needed to be a really engaging time. The 3 major waves of attack all intersect with using similar mechanics, and you have to think fast to discern how to react. For example, Dark Figure is approaching one of your hallways. You have to react within like 2 seconds once he reaches the doorway, but you don't know if you'll need to turn on the light or quickly shut the door. And if you make the wrong choice, then boom, you're dead. Or in another case, you think you hear the figure laugh, but it was actually a fake, so it baits you into wasting more precious power, which by the way, is crucial to preserve in this night. You cannot be wasting a smidge of power if you want to get through this night, which is honestly a great addition. Making sure you're on time with the doors and finding ways to minimize your camera usage is very fun, and the simple mechanics don't make it frustrating in the slightest. I don't really have much else to say. The boss fight is super fun and a great capper to the full main story. Also, one more thing I forgot to mention. The boss fight plays Gundam music. That's kind of awesome. So after that, you unlock the extras menu, which contains one of my all-time favorite things a fan game can do, info dumping. Not even joking, when extras menus have those little blurbs on each of the characters, giving insight into their function and little tidbits of lore, I eat that shit up. I fucking love reading. Okay, I will say I think there's probably a bit too much lore packed into these extras menus. Like, we get pretty major plot details spilled in these extras, like the supposed meaning of the Dark Figure, Riley's reasoning for taking the job at Clancy's, and a lot of info about the creation of this thing. Yeah, I bet you don't even recognize it. That's honestly my one big gripe with the game as a whole. I feel like a lot of this important information should be kept in the extras as a clarification, but also shown off sometime during the main game. It loses a lot of dramatic potential and engagement because of that, and as is, it feels really sudden and out of place to just dump all this new information on you at once. Entries like Tucker's or Briar's don't suffer from this problem because we were either already told aspects of what happened to them from the phone guy, or that information is implied through the designs of the characters. It's a small problem that can easily be overlooked in the grand scheme of things, but I felt like bringing it up regardless. Besides, there are some cool lore tidbits that aren't first seen in the extras, like the death minigame, Golden Clancy, the destruction of Briar, the Night 10 phone calls, etc. I don't want to say too much about those things because I really want to encourage you to play this game and piece things together yourself. While I do have issues with the extras menu entries, I think they make you brainstorm all the ways the story could be going, and with way more games on the way, it's very investing so far. So that about covers it. I genuinely think this game understands how to create a simple yet engaging gameplay loop that takes elements from FNAF 1 and fine-tunes them to make the experience 100 times more interesting. It's a wonderful game with a great art style, polished and fun gameplay, and plenty of interesting lore to chew on afterwards. I highly recommend you check it out. The game link will be in the description. Thank you so much for sticking around to the end. Please support me by liking and subscribing.